blindly fight all hackers is to go against the power you cannot control at the cost of stifling innovation and regulating knowledge. Some things that will come back and bite you. It is even more true if we go after hackers that are willing to risk their own freedom for ideals like the freedom of the web. Especially in times like this, like today even, as governments and corporates fight to control the internet. I find it astounding when someone from the shadowy corners of cyberspace can become its voice of opposition, its last line of defense even. Perhaps someone like Anonymous, the leading brand of global hacktivism. This universal hacker movement needs no introduction today. But 6 years ago, they were not much more than an internet subculture dedicated to sharing silly pictures of funny cats and internet trolling campaigns. Their moment of transformation was in early 2008, when the Church of Scientology attempted to remove certain leaked videos from appearing on certain websites. This is when Anonymous was forged out of the seemingly random collection of internet dwellers. Turns out, the internet doesn't like it when private movements come. And it will react with cyber attacks and elaborate pranks, and with a series of organized protests all around the world, from my hometown of Tel Aviv to Adelaide, Australia. This proved that Anonymous, this idea, can rally the masses from the keyboards to the streets, and it laid the foundations for dozens of future operations against perceived injustices to their online and offline world. Since then, they've gone after many targets. They've uncovered corruption, abuse, they've hacked popes and politicians. And I think their effect is larger than simple denial of service attacks that take down websites or even leak sensitive documents. I think that, like Robin Hood, they are in the business of redistribution. And what they're after is your money. It's not your documents. It's your attention. They grab the spotlight from causes they support, forcing us to take note, acting as a global magnifying glass for issues that we are not as aware of, but perhaps we should be. They have been called many names, from criminals to terrorists, and I cannot justify their illegal means. But the ideas they fight for are ones that matter to us all. The reality is, hackers do a lot more than these things. They can bring people together. And if the internet doesn't like it when we have to move things from it, just watch what happens when you try to shut the internet down. This took place in Egypt in January 2011. And as the President Hosni Mubarak attempted a desperate move to quash the rising revolution on the streets of Cairo, he sent his personal troops down to Egypt's internet service providers, had them physically kill the switch on the country's connection to the world overnight. For a government to do a thing like that was unprecedented. And for hackers, it made it personal. Hackers like the Telecomics Group were already active on the ground, helping Egyptians like us censorship using clever workarounds like Morse code and ham radio. It was high season for low tech, which the government couldn't block. But when the net went completely down, Telecomics brought in the big guns. They found European service providers that still had 20-year-old analog dial-up access infrastructure. They opened up 300 of those lines for Egyptians to use, serving slow but sweet internet connection for Egyptians. This worked. It worked so well, in fact, one guy even used it to download an episode of How I Met Your Mother. But while Egypt's future is still uncertain, when the same thing happened in Syria just 1 year later, Telecomics were prepared with those internet lines. And Anonymous, they were perhaps the first international group to officially denounce the actions Syrian military by defacing the website. But with this sort of power, it really depends on where you stand, because one man's hero can be another's villain. And so the Syrian Electronic Party is pro-Assad group of hackers who support his contentious regime. They've taken down multiple high-profile targets in the past 2 years, including the Associated Press's Twitter account, in which they posted a message about an attack on the White House injuring President Obama. This tweet was fake news. The resulting drop in the Dow Jones Index that day was most certainly not. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. This sort of thing is happening all over the world right now. In conflicts from the Korean Peninsula to Latin America, from Europe to the United States, hackers are a force for social, political, and military influence. As individuals or groups, volunteers on military conflicts, there are hackers everywhere. They come from all walks.
Social lender is being hacked, say, every week by 2 people. That it will force social lender to get better or worse. This is why we say that hackers are the immune system of the internet, because they keep making us want to get better and better. If we remove what they do, generally, we would have been very, very far back by now. But because of how people are forced to keep making things get better, because if you don't, they will exploit it. They help you. It's like disease is trying to get into your body, and your body is trying to fight it back, and in the process, your body gets better. For every time you have a disease, for example, if you've not had malaria in your life, malaria could kill you instantly on the first day. Like common catarrh we have could kill you if you've never had it before. But because of how you have it the first time, you get better. You have it again. Now, your body adapts to it each time. Your immune system gets better at fighting it each time. And that's what hackers do for us generally. They help us, make us understand that if we don't fight these things, it's going to become a problem we can't handle. Do you understand? Yeah. Now, thank you very much for being here. Have a nice day. We'll be fine. Ibrahim.
Yes.
Sorry, he has a question.
What's the first thing to me and then
A hacker? Were you here at his KD yesterday? You are here? You are here. What type of hacker do you want to be? White hat. Alright. You have to learn everything normal programmers learn generally.
Like every language?
No, not that. Why will you learn every language? You choose one, but you are going to have to learn the basics of networking. Most times you are going to need, that's pen testing is what they call it in the beginning. That's penetration testing, ethical hacking, right? So you need, let's say, a Linux, but you need to learn those stuff. You need to learn the basics, because what they teach is the same thing they teach the good guys is what they teach the bad guys. What changes is intent. One guy wants to use this for wrong, one guy. So generally, you learn the same things. You learn pen testing, ethical hacking. All of them are in the same family, like. But it's not something. It's dependent on networking and learning the programming itself. These two things. So I can't really tell you this is what you have to go and learn first. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. Yeah. Any other questions? In the absence of questions, we have weekly drill to do. Go.
Don't forget to raise the
We never hear finish for 20 hours. You can't.
Okay, guys.
Okay, guys. My opening line be okay, guys. So you don't notice that. Sure, you don't notice that.
Today.
Again. Non-techie, you're not going anywhere. You have not ended it, so you're still streaming Ibrahim. 2 house, okay. Do. Can do. How are you always looking?